Welcome to season 2020, episode 11, 3 tuning forks. The team discusses the new Jack Miller. The calendar is firming. We look at team cultures and Manuel's thoughts on Ruben Xaus. This is the Pecino Report. It's time for the Pecino Report, the show where we cover the latest in MotoGP news. I really shouldn't say just MotoGP news, we cover a lot in between. We've got Andra, Stu, Manuel, they're all in the house, and we're going to talk about everything that's new for MotoGP. We've got Silverstone, we've got all the Dorna news, we've got all the team culture news, we've just got news. Stu is here from beautiful Brisneyland. Welcome back to episode 11, mate. How are you?
Hey, hi team, how are we doing? Very well, I hope. Hello everybody out there in podcast land. I'm doing really well. Starting to cool down here in Bris Vegas. It was a chilly 19 degrees the other day. I've had to actually put a cardigan. I don't know how I'm surviving it. It's terrible.
I went back and listened to the Jake Dixon interview we did where he just said like everything that we said temperature-wise was like, no, it's 43 here. It's winter and it's actually getting hotter. So I can't take weather reports seriously now, thanks to him.
And it wasn't a coincidence that his missus went, we're coming out there to see you as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's it.
But no, it has. It's been a massive week of MotoGP news, as you allude to there, Dave. News about tracks that we're going to have, we're not going to have, all that sort of thing. One thing that's really stood out for me this week is not so young Aussie gentleman by the name of Chad Reed. Let's say decent motocross rider. Everybody knows the name Chad Reed. He's done a few
related
things.
To Chopper?
Let's hope so. Well, actually, no, I hope not, because then they'll probably come and kill me for what
This is the second episode where we have to put Chopper Reed into the show notes.
But no, good old Chadley. He's done a few things on the dirt. But look, let's tell it how it is. He's not even worthy of being mentioned in the same breath as even the lowliest privateer MotoGP racer as far as pure racing skill goes. It's a completely different skill set. And he's clearly decided he needs a social media boost this week. He must be down on likes or something, I don't know. He's decided to weigh in on the change of crew chief in the VR46 camp. And so, look, for those that haven't heard...
because he's highly qualified in that area.
Yeah, exactly.
He's about as qualified as I am.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Silvano Galbacera was replaced for 2020 as Vale's crew chief by Davide Munoz, right? So Reed, he must be bored in lockdown, describing Silvano as useless, that's inverted air comma quotes, and saying he never understood why he was there. He wasn't at Valentino's level. Look, some people are saying that Chad's association with Yamaha Motocross and his loose acquaintance with Rossi somehow gives him the inside line on this. I'm saying it's more likely he's browsing Motorsport archives and he's just noticed this story, thinking he wants to remain relevant, considering it's from October 2019. Nice one, Chad. For that, he gets my
face palm of the week.
Nice. But in all truth, not much has happened in the last 6 or so months, has it?
No, exactly. Yeah.
So it's recent news.
Galbacera was useless as a crew chief. Realistically, that takes into account none of the health issues he was having. He wanted to spend more time with his family near home, doing less away rounds. Sure, Rossi hadn't won a championship in the last 6 years or 5 years that they were together, but hey, I'm sure there were a few other factors there as well.
Manuel, you're very close to the medal on this one. First of all, welcome back to the podcast with your name all over it. Did you see that article by Chad Reed?
I read about it, but I was as astonished as Stu. I just thought that which was the sense of doing this, right? And
don't tell me the first thing you thought is, who's Chad Reed?
Yeah.
No, I know very well who's Chad Reed.
No, that was me.
It was very well with Chad Reed, but it's really stupid to do a comment like this, right? Because does he really know what's going on? Because I think I read that he has met Valentino a couple of times, and from that point, he decides that he knows what is good and what is bad. For Valentino, better than Valentino himself, right?
Yeah, and now he's saying that they're friends. They've met like 2 or 3 times. That's it.
Yeah. But Stu, I would like you to repeat the name of the new Valentino's new crew chief. You are at the level of Andrea with Le Mans. Please.
Do it.
I've got David Munoz. That's what I've got. Come on, show me, Manuel. How's it done?
No, it's done. Not how is it done. It's how it is.
Do not try. Just do.
There is no try. Only do.
Do. Yes.
Well, we can
It's just trying
compare.
to help me out, make me feel better.
When you edit this, you have to put together the two. My way of saying and the other one. It's David Munoz.
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 Okay. I would never have gotten that right.
Wow. There's half a planet of women who just ovulated when they heard that.
And me a little bit, I think, as well.
Andrea, you've I can see by the expression on your face you've got
ovulating.
No. You've got Chad Reed up on a small screen there. Have you? Have you been checking him out?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. I just wanted a straight hot or not. You're the source of truth on this.
Yeah. We'll go to Manuel and give us an intro and a hello, Manuel, while Andrea's sorting herself out. Well, not sorting herself out.
Oh, how you doing?
Oh, that's a hot.
He looks a bit clean cut for a motorbike rider. Oh no,
Okay.
there he is, a bit dirty.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get into that later in the team culture section. It's good to have you back, Manuel. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've put one of these out. Events got on top of us, and obviously the lockdown has started to be a little looser in Manuel's part of the world, so we're going to start to see the big man himself getting a little harder to bolt down in the coming weeks.
No, David, my compromise with our podcast is 100%. There are many things that I can leave in the back to be with you, right? and in the last week, yes, a lot of things have been going on. I have had a lot of chats with very interesting people. With Jack Miller, I had one yesterday straight from Australia.
Nice.
2 days before, I spoke straight with the people from Michelin to got explained how they are going to deal with all this situation. Then I think we had also Danilo Petrucci. We had Hervé Poncharal. So a lot of people I have been speaking in the last weeks, yes.
Manuel, out of that list, who would you put at the top as the absolute number one newsworthy item that needs to get out there to our listeners' ears?
Yeah, well, I think the most important things are the list of the Grand Prix that will finally not happen. The list has been increased. I think last time we saw that Silverstone is out of that list. And now Japan, Motegi has been added, and also your Grand Prix at Phillip Island. Finally, for my biggest disappointment of many, we won't have a race at Phillip Island. And now there are on the list extra European races. There are just 4 left. Officially, right? There is left Argentina, there is left Texas, and Thailand and Malaysia. Okay, that's the list, and I think that the only one who have really a chance to be held will be the 2 in Asia, Thailand and Malaysia. But next week, that they will be in 3 or 4 days, we will have the final calendar.
And by final calendar, what's your gut feeling saying on that? Is it going to be completely European based, or do you reckon the flyaways actually do stand a chance? Because we're only down to Thailand, Japan, Malaysia.
No, if we have something abroad out of Europe, it will be basically Thailand and Malaysia all together.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and then in Europe, as far as I know, there will be 13 races. That's not bad. 13 races. So if everything runs okay, we will have around 15. That is something amazing, considering that the championship will start in July 16th or 19th.
Yeah.
19th. Okay.
So let's get straight to it. The big question. We're saying it's just going to be around Europe. So first thing that I want to know straight away, they've canned Silverstone. Is there room to bring Silverstone back into the calendar at some time if the UK eases the restrictions? We're hearing that there's a bit of wiggle room and things may change here and there. Is Silverstone completely dead, or is there the chance we may be able to bring it back sometime later in the year?
Well, Silverstone did announce that there would be no MotoGP race, right? But as I told you, we have 4 or 5 days. And considering, for my surprise, that Formula One is going to produce a double race there. I think 2 races.
2 races at Silverstone.
So the surprise or the question anybody obviously does himself is, why Formula One yes and MotoGP no?
That's right. And obviously, a lot of that, as I think I said to you before we started recording, being a fan of F1 as well, I know that a lot of the teams are based in the UK for F1, and they put a lot of money into the economy there within England and the United Kingdom. I know there's been a lot of lobbying. Also, the main media and broadcasting companies are in the UK, and so that's why they think it's achievable to go ahead. And so there's been a lot of lobbying, and they've got exemptions for those teams that are based outside of the UK, people like Ferrari, AlphaTauri, Renault, those sort of guys, to get exemptions from the 14-day lockdown when you come into the country.
Look, I really don't know what's going on, but I have just thinking about this. I could say, for example, there are 2 things I want to point. One, that the circus, the MotoGP circus, is much bigger than the Formula One circuits. You just have to have a look at the drivers.
Very true.
I don't know how many. I don't follow Formula One, but I can imagine there are 20 drivers, more or less, something like that. Mm-hmm. And in MotoGP, with the 3 categories, there will be 100 of them. Okay, then there is another thing. With the Brexit, the UK has just put a border in Europe. In the rest of the countries, they just drive around.
It's a hard border as well.
But the same is the same for Formula One. So I don't know. Do you have the dates of the races in Formula One?
I think it's the 19th and the 26th of July. Just off the top of my head.
Yeah, July is okay. But imagine if we go up there in October.
Oh.
No way.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to go there any later than the end of August. You just wouldn't. Not without your Mac and your umbrella and your boots.
Manuel, we've spoken previously about essentially the away races for MotoGP incurring a cost to some of the local race promoters. They're essentially only getting the money back on crowd attendance. Would that be the same for Silverstone? Would it be coming at a cost for Silverstone, or could this be financially driven by Silverstone to say, no, we're just not going to get our money back on this, we'll see you next year?
Yeah, because look, if there are no spectators, even organizing the circuit, it's a high cost.
Absolutely,
organizing a race, because you have to all these marshal for all the health, all the doctors you have to hire, so the cost is very high. So if there is, and I think Silverstone is a private circuit, right? It's private. So the money has to come out from the pocket of somebody. It's not like in Jerez or in Aragon that these circuits are somehow linked to the state.
Absolutely.
And these are just paying, when you have to organize something with the money that is not yours, it's much easier.
I'm still waiting for the announcement of a season-ending Qatar round on the first week of December.
Yeah, Qatar for me is a big question mark, because when Carmelo speaks about the up-road races that are still open, he mentions these 4 that we just spoke about. That is Argentina, Texas, Thailand, and Malaysia. But he does not mention Qatar. So
keeping that close to his chest.
We can just about rule Texas out on that one, though.
Texas would be good.
Yeah, we can just about rule that out, though, for a variety of reasons. One, the time
of year. It'll be a field hospital.
And 2, the organisational structure within that circuit probably isn't the best at the moment. They're struggling to keep themselves afloat from everything that I can see.
And you know that Argentina has declared herself bankrupt some weeks ago, so it's no sense to make a race there if they are not paying what they owe.
Yeah, exactly right. We've got some airlines in Australia
races. Like that. Those F1 races are on August the 2nd and 9th, so a week or so after, I thought. But yeah, beginning of August.
This is high summer in England. Wow.
I know. People be wearing short sleeves and everything.
43 degrees.
So, man, we've got the calendar getting bolted down very, very quickly. What else has erupted over the last 7 days that we need to get out there?
Well, you know that I think, we have spoken so many things in our podcast, but I think we mentioned that Pramac second rider for next season would be Jorge Martin, the Spanish rider who now races for Red Bull, and this has been announced. This is not new. We have said here that Ducati has been following Martin for years, and there is something that helped the deal, that Jorge's manager is the same that Jorge Lorenzo had, right? So while Jorge Lorenzo was in Ducati, this deal was done at that time already.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. He doesn't have to remember a new name.
That's what I'm saying. Did this happen by accident, or is he just meant to write Lorenzo? He accidentally wrote Martin.
Hang on. And you know who is the third rider he has, this manager?
Remy Gardner.
Jorge Navarro.
So he is.
So there is Jorge Lorenzo, Jorge.
He only manages
that's the key.
people called George. Which manages that? Who is that?
Well, it's his name is Albert Valera. But it's funny. I tell you now an anecdote. He was Jorge Lorenzo's manager. He had only Jorge Lorenzo, right? Then he decided to manage other riders, and he had to ask permission to Jorge Lorenzo. All right. And Jorge Lorenzo said, yes, as long as you give me a part of what you get from that.
Whoa. No way.
Oh.
You're trading off my name, so I want to cut.
Wow.
That's
okay, so one, there's insecurity from that manager. He's not that good. And two, good on Jorge Lorenzo for doing that.
Maybe it saved him from doing some more fast food advertisements.
Yeah, no more sauce.
No more mayonnaise.
I watched that more times than I should have.
Indeed. So as we spoke to Remy a few weeks ago here on What the Andro. So he's obviously missed out on that seat for 2021. So what do you think that means for Remy's chances of a ride in 2021?
No, but sorry, Stu. I have spoken with people in MotoGP, and Remy's name is circling around, where or what he's going to do, but his name is going around. So that's MotoGP, it will depend a lot of what he shows in these races, very much, because people have been impressed about some of his performances last year.
And I'm excited, like what he mentioned about his size in comparison to the other riders and how the bigger bike will be better for him. I'm keen to see how that works. Yeah,
and we heard his character, and this is very important. This is a plus for him.
As we've said previously, it's he has the killer instinct. He said he has that ability to execute when it's required. There was an amazing article that I rarely read things 2 and 3 times, but I picked this up the other day. It was by Neil Hodgson, who basically was laying out a case that Fabio Quartararo has ruined it for everyone else.
Oh,
that was out there at the moment. You read the same thing, Stu?
Yeah. So everyone's expecting new guys to come through and just kick ass immediately.
But it was also the fact that Fabio was an outstanding participant in Moto 3. Didn't have the best of time in Moto 2, but was still taken on faith into MotoGP and absolutely excelled. So where the traditional belief before was show us your results in Moto 3, show us your results in Moto 2, and then we'll give you the opportunity. Neil Hodgson was claiming that it's now muddied the waters for those that are saying, give me the break on the bigger bike. bike and I will perform. Previously, he was saying that wouldn't have got any airplay amongst the teams because they wanted to see consistency. Now that Fabio's proven that actually is the case, that you can not perform in Moto2 but perform when you actually get on a bigger bike, he was saying that's absolutely shot the way that the teams look at the junior riders now. He said it's widened the field, it's muddied the waters. The clear stream of rider progression that they had has now been literally thrown to the wolves. So there's riders out there that wouldn't have been contemplated that are now being contemplated.
Open up so many more doors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I will dare to say that I don't agree with Neil Hodgson.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Cool. Yep.
I think, look, I wrote pages and pages about Fabio Quartararo before arriving at the Grand Prix. But I have, I wrote about him saying that he was the guy who was going to push Marquez out of the throne, and this was before he arrived in the Grand Prix. And I tell you something. I even sent something to Japan, explaining to them to have a look at Fabio Quartararo as a kid.
Wow. Okay.
So there is no secret, there is no magic. Fabio Quartararo has not came out of nowhere. The people
it's been a long journey. He's been a known quantity for a while.
But
how long has he been in MotoGP?
In the paddock, in lower classes and stuff.
No, like in the upper class, like in the top.
Two years? He's done 2 seasons in MotoGP, hasn't he?
Yeah.
No, but he was 2 years, 3 years. No, 2 years in Moto2 and another 2 or 3 years in Moto3, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is that the people who understand about this, and I'm not saying that Neil doesn't, they see from far away the ones who are really good and not. And Fabio Quartararo, while he was in the Spanish championship, he was absolutely dominant, absolutely winning every race. I think he won 9 races out of 11, and you could see that he was coming. You understand?
Mm-hmm. So why wasn't
what class of bike was that on?
Sorry?
What class of bike was that on? Was it on a super bike or a...
No.
It was Moto3. Okay.
Yeah, because he was young. Wow. He arrived at the championship with 16. No. Look, the championship changed the age of entering because of Fabio Quartararo.
Wow.
Whoa.
They change.
Yeah, they did a special rule for him because they decided that the rider who would win the Spanish championship would get automatically into the championship in the Grand Prix. Yeah. But at that time, the minimum age, the lower age was 16. So they had to change it.
He was 15 at the time, was he?
Yeah. So it's not that he appeared from nowhere. We all knew what was the surprise that he didn't do well in Moto3 and Moto2. And the reason of that, there are many theories, but look, Fabio has changed or did change every year the team, right? Every year. And then he changed from Honda to KTM, from KTM back to Honda, and this and this and that. And at this age, you have to consider that they are teenagers. They are people with the structure very sensible and very unstable. So he changed every year team, every year new crew chief, every year new mechanics. And being that young, in my opinion, he got a little bit lost. In fact, remember that he has explained that at a certain point he went to see a psychologist, a sport psychologist, because he started to get very upset and out of control when the results were not the one he thought he could do. And we are talking about a guy with 17.
Do you think that might help him just concentrate on the racing later on and give him a bit of an edge in his 20s and later on?
So you compare. Let's compare, because at the end you have to work with the statistic. Marc Marquez has built his team from the very beginning, and they have moved from the lower class up to the higher class.
Yep.
The one who invented this format was who? Valentino Rossi.
Valle, yeah.
Okay, now we have Fabio, who arrived there like stumbling, like Viñales did. Viñales did change. So at the end, the ones who are up there, they have shown how to do it. Yeah. The others have arrived, but to finish
need that
the
consistency
story,
and that stability.
Saying that, wow, he came out of nowhere. It's not true.
Yeah. I'll tell you, well, to be honest, that Neil Hodgson article, the most thing I'm amazed about with that whole thing is he managed to sit down for that long and write that article. I think he might have dictated it just quietly.
The other thing that has always impressed me about Neil Hodgson is, having seen him at quite a few of the Grand Prix, this is something that once you see, you can't unsee. The man doesn't crease. I've never seen a crease in one of his shirts. He is unflappable.
He's like a cardboard cutout.
It is. I'm a sweaty mess at the end of a Saturday qualifying, and Sunday I can barely get up. Neil just looks as though he's popped out the back of a shirt. Exactly. I think he takes 12 shirts. The man does not crease. It's actually probably a very good segue into, yes, the riders and the mentality that they take into the teams is critical, but it's something that I've been bouncing back and forward with Manuel over the last couple of weeks that I wanted to explore, was the different cultures that exist within the primary teams that we see in the paddock. From a spectator's view and a passionate spectator, even I can pick up the differences that are happening in the box. So the culture that Repsol exudes is different to the one that Lynn Jarvis obviously has control of. If that very, very famous win of Petrucci at Mugello with David Tardozzi swinging a fire extinguisher around, that is obviously a different culture. Again, I can't imagine Takeo Yokoyama doing the same thing after a Marquez victory. So when I raised this with Manuel, who's going, yes, he goes, there is very, very clear differences between the teams. So this was something that I wanted to essentially put to you guys as a thought piece as well.
You talk about teams, David. I would say more about brands, okay? Because regarding the 6 brands that are in the championship, basically the team represents the brand. There is one that doesn't. That is different, the team, than what the DNA from the brand. Of the brand, right? That is very important. The DNA, each factory has its DNA. And we have to separate very clear also the 3 Japanese. We know they have a very special culture, and the 3 Europeans, right? So if you don't mind, let's start with the Europeans, because the Japanese, it's interesting to compare them among themselves, because even there, between them, there are big differences, very big, and very interesting that most of the people don't understand or don't know. So let's start, for example, with Ducati, right? Ducati is the smallest brand in the championship. Very small because, for an example, they basically sell not more than 50,000 bikes a year, okay? Ducati is very important. The first thing is that they are basically an engineering company. The people who run the business are engineers. Okay, Domenicali was a former racing department engineer. Now he's in charge. So it's important to understand that they are engineers. Ducati has another very important signal, or they look at themselves as an elite brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elite.
Yep.
Okay. And a good sign of this, actually, they don't sell bikes lower than 800cc capacity, because they want to show themselves like we are the Lamborghinis of the motorcycle world.
That's exactly who they are, yeah.
In fact, they are in the same company than Lamborghini. That is the Volkswagen. Okay, so Volkswagen Group bought Ducati to have in their group a motorcycle brand, and they gave Ducati the same how do you say, Focus than Lamborghini. Okay?
Yeah.
So this transfer to the racing is the same. Ducati is basically a factory that promotes the engines, because for an engineer, the engine is what shows how good he is. Okay, a chassis. Who is it? What is a chassis? Chassis is just two iron put together, or two aluminium, right? But what makes an engineer better than the rest is my bike, my engine is stronger than yours.
Can we just pause there for a second? Because I do understand exactly what you're saying from an engine perspective, but as a previous Ducati owner as well, one of the things that Ducati has always prided itself on was a steel trellis frame. So they were very engine minded, but organisationally, I always saw Ducati as seeing themselves as priding themselves on that steel trellis frame. They said frame design was always number one for them as well.
I see that more than anything, though, David, as a point of vanity. That's what I always saw in the trellis frame. It's a thing of beauty, first and foremost. Yeah. I think that's why it's remained for so long. It's a thing of beauty in and of itself, and so it's a point of vanity, and it's a point of difference, as opposed to being a separate point of engineering excellence.
And do you think this was also why they held on to the single-sided swing arm for so long?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
They have to
if they were genuine, if they were genuine about engineering excellence, realistically, they would have gotten rid of the steel trellis frame 25 years ago. Look what Bimotor did. It's exactly what they've done.
Yeah, in racing, they had to switch to a standard chassis. Let's call it standard because the tube chassis didn't work, but it's a sign of identity. It's a sign of being different, like the swing arm. If not, they could not sell bikes quite more expensive than the Japanese. They have to be different. If not, you would buy a Japanese bike.
It was a point of difference. Yeah.
Okay, this is from the engineering point of view. From the character point of view of Ducati, it's 100% Italian, as you said. It's pure passion. Nobody lives racing with the, I was going to say intensity, but it's not, because the other are also intense, but with the Latin explosion like they do.
I was going to say, there isn't a safe fire extinguisher.
There's no drama.
It's
drama. It's just dramatic.
Yeah.
So, and there is something also very funny in Ducati that is also makes Ducati very special. It's the way, if you look in a Ducati garage, you see how many people are in this garage. The sponsor, the it's like a market in Firenze. There are so many people there.
The only thing is the fish on the ice is missing. Yes.
and they walk around up and there. I tell you a fantastic anecdote with Nicky Hayden. Nicky Hayden, he used to, that he was in Honda for a long time, and then he switched to Ducati. So the first time he entered in the Ducati box, and this is very interesting, he was sitting there, and suddenly he asked his crew chief on his side, and looks at him, he said, "Hey, why is everybody touching my bike?" In his garage, okay?
Yeah.
And he asked the guy, "And why is everybody walking around?"
Yeah.
So for him, being American and coming from a Japanese structure, he was so shocked, because in the Ducati garage, everybody does more or less what they want to, and when there is no racing. They walk around, somebody goes on the bike and touches the seat, the other one touches this. And in Honda, it's incredible, because the mechanics have a certain area in the box to move. They cannot cross from side of. They have their own specific area, because what they think, they want the rider sitting in the back have a straight view out into the pit lane. Free view, nobody crossing him, so the rider can focus. There is where I have to go.
Yep.
That's pretty good. Bit of feng shui.
So Ducati are bringing a little bit of the motherland into the pit box of let's get that family, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of bringing the intensity of that environment into the pit box.
Yeah, and again, it's a little bit of that Italian vanity as well, isn't it? You have the sponsors and the media there, and it's an opportunity.
Yeah, but it's the way, it's Italy.
Yeah, it's cultural. Exactly.
You cannot think in Ducati being KTM. No way. No.
Does this translate over into Aprilia? Do Aprilia work in a very similar way, or do they have their own?
Do it. Yep.
Aprilia is for me the only brand that the box doesn't reflect the brand. Okay,
that was the one that I would have said. When you said that earlier on, straight away my head went to Aprilia. Definitely.
Yes. And in Aprilia, you have to consider two Aprilias, right? The Aprilia in the past that was owned by a person, by one guy called Ivano Beggio, and the actual Aprilia who is owned by a big group, the Piaggio group. When it was owned by a certain person, Aprilia was the most racing brand that has ever existed in the history. The racing department at that time was the most modern, accurate, brilliant of all history, even better than HRC, I would say. In fact, I think
that's a big call.
Oh yeah,
and I think they got bankrupt because of spending too much money in racing. Basically,
there's that passion coming through again.
Yeah. So now what happens? A big group that is the Piaggio group, that is the biggest non-Japanese group, motorcycle group existing in the world. They bought or they got Aprilia, and now Aprilia Racing, that was something huge and special, now is just a part inside Aprilia. It's just a department. You understand? What saves Aprilia is that there are still people from the old times involved in racing, and there is passion. Look at these
maintain the passion.
At these old times in Aprilia, they were working. If you would go there 3 o'clock in the morning, they were working. 4 o'clock in the morning, there was no time. They were 24 hours 7, because they had such a passion in racing.
Has the change, do you think, can you see the change in the Aprilia pit box these days, or have they maintained a protective shell around that?
When was the last time they won a race? So.
No, the thing of Aprilia is that the involvement of the company, because racing is a department that only spends money, as you know. It does in a company. It doesn't produce money. It's just a cost.
Yeah.
Cost and a huge cost. And
it's a very good-looking black hole.
Exactly. You can put there all the money you can. That it's never enough. Now, since last year, it seemed that the boss of Aprilia, the big man in Aprilia, he wanted to push the MotoGP project. Okay, so he hired an ex-Ferrari team manager. But what has happened? This crisis has been like a torpedo in the.
Of course, in
the boat of Aprilia's MotoGP project. So now nobody knows what is going to happen in Aprilia.
Okay, but moving on to the last of the European manufacturers with KTM, how do they see themselves differently? Obviously, nationality with national culture, but how does that translate into a paddock? How does KTM hold themselves? How do they carry themselves? How do they operate that's differently to everyone else in the paddock? What is their team culture?
Look, I think that we are going to give a short homework to Andra. Andra, can you? Do you have a computer close or iPhone or your phone?
I do.
Yes, just check the motto of KTM and tell me what it says.
Oh, God, this is like a school test.
Your whole life's a test, Andrew.
What am I looking up? What am I looking up?
KTM's motto.
Oh, the motto.
Yeah.
I thought he said something in Spanish.
It was in Spanish.
Yeah, motto, yeah.
Ready to race?
Exactly. Yeah. You got it.
I passed.
You did, 100%. Woo!
So this describes KTM DNA.
Yeah.
Very clear. It's on its motto, and KTM is ready to race. It's a brand that is comes from racing.
Yeah.
From racing, and what impresses me more of KTM is the age of their engineers. They are all young guys, and they all race enduro or motocross on weekends.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of them have come from off-road. That's where KTM's DNA has come from, the off-road stuff.
Yeah, but engineers are very young and they practice what they produce, and many of them arrive Monday with a broken arm or a broken wrist.
Yep.
So,
during the weekend.
That's how you choose your good engineers.
and in another company, this would be a disaster, but in KTM, it's like, you are doing your job.
A badge of honor. Yes.
You understand? And the other thing that is absolutely particular of KTM is the personality of the owner. The owner is Pierer. Stefan Pierer is the owner of KTM, and he has an incredible character. He's absolutely German in the sense of we have to win, we do everything to win, and he doesn't hesitate to spend what is needed if he thinks that it would help them to win. And being the owner, the only owner, he can decide in 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, he can. To use that American term, he can turn on a dime. Yeah, he can. Yeah, instant decisions.
Exactly, and he owes a lot of techie companies. He owes, for example, companies that are that produce pistons for Formula 1 cars, for cam rods for Formula 1 cars. So he has a lot of periféricos, companies around
the outside.
Yeah. And this is basically KTM, a racing company, very racing with a German touch. Look, if you compare Ducati, racing company with engineers, and KTM, the difference is the nationality.
Mm-hmm. How do they carry themselves at the track in the box, Manuel? Can you, if they were all wearing white uniforms, could you tell a KTM box from? How would you tell them in the way that they behave? How do they?
Look. This is funny because in the only Grand Prix that was held this year in Qatar, right?
Yeah.
There were some KTM people organizing the MotoGP stuff they had in the test, and they were told, if you shake hands with anybody or hug anybody. Get fired.
Okay, there's the answer. Yes.
So, and these teams, there are a lot of Italians, Spaniards, but you get close to them. No.
Run through and hug them all and wipe out the whole team.
So that's the difference. And probably the Ducati guys, they would, hug you, put your arm over your shoulder, and whatever. This is the difference.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, there's my answer on that one. I think that's a nice wrap-up of the three European manufacturers. Probably time to step over into the Japanese side of the house. Is anywhere you wanted to start with that, Manuel? Did you want to do Suzuki first on that, or?
No, let me explain you, because I got explained this by a technician who was first in Yamaha, and then he was hired by Honda, and he was the first non-Japanese electronic engineer that entered in HRC. Okay. Wow. Before that, he was electronic engineer of Jorge Lorenzo. And his name is an Italian, and his name is Carlo Luzzi. And I asked him this question. He said, look, people don't realize, we Westerns, don't realize how different Honda and Yamaha is. He said, look, Honda is basically a city company. They called it. It's a company, a city company. Okay?
Yep.
And Yamaha, it's basically a farm company, he told me.
Oh my God.
I said, what?
Burn.
What? No. And then he said, look, but it's down to where their headquarters are. It starts there. He said the headquarters of Honda is in Saitama. That is North Tokyo. Okay? It's a city or
Tokyo,
a neighborhood that has 1.2 million people, neighborhood, Saitama. But it's basically Tokyo area, right? The Japanese, Yamaha is in a place called Iwata. Okay, that is in the middle of nowhere, and the city has around 120,000 people.
Wow. And 90% of them work for Yamaha, yeah.
Tokyo has around how many? 30 million?
Yeah,
more than Australia.
It's more than Australia.
That's nearly as many as us.
Okay, so, and this is the first point. And then they said, look, he explained to me, Yamaha was a company that was built originally for creating musical instruments.
Yes,
musical instruments. They still make very, very good instruments, pianos and guitars especially, yeah.
I'm recording through some of their gear right now.
There you go.
And tell me something. You ask, Andra, another test.
Yep.
Its instruments are made of
Stuff.
wood.
Wood?
Yeah.
Wood. That's why Yamaha is in the middle of the bush.
Ah, there you go.
What are their bikes made out of?
That's why their symbol is 3 tuning forks.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
way.
Yeah, but the
musical instruments.
the company now are separate, right? But this is the origin. So one are the farmers and the other one are the cool from the cities. This is point number one.
Yep.
Then Honda as a company in Japan has much more prestige, you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, prestige.
A lot of prestige, a lot in Japan. When you go in Japan, you say Honda, people say, only Toyota is basically bigger than Honda in Japan, right?
Yeah.
So when this makes the Honda representative feel like they are the elite. We are the tough guys. We are the the elite. And this makes also that when Honda needs engineers for their company, they have only the most intelligent one, the most smartest one, because they are at the top of the list.
They've got the chic appeal. The people are wanting to work for Honda. Yeah, so they're pulling the best of the best.
Yeah.
Exactly, and this makes a big difference. So everything. This makes that Honda thinks very different than Yamaha. This is the spirit of the company, okay? And when it comes down to racing, it's also super interesting. And I think maybe I'm speaking too much myself.
No, go for it. This is one of those moments where the script has been torn up and we've thrown it over. It's just like, Manuel, this is what this podcast is about. This is when you get on a roll, so go for it. If we can keep as much momentum on this as possible.
Yeah. The Honda, look, they are, I think the word in English is selfish, right? That you trust very much in yourself and you think you are the best. Okay, look, Honda and HRC and Yamaha. HRC, we said it's an engineering company, okay? So Honda uses races for 3 reasons. One, to build young engineers that have shown they are very good. They are for 3 or 4 years sent into the racing, where an engineer can show how good he is, because racing is inventing, right?
Okay. Yep.
It's the top of the top. They send them there. Basically, engineers to get built. The second is they want to show their technology. In racing, they want to show we are the big fishes here. Look what we can do. Nobody of you is able to do that. Okay? And this makes, look, the racing in Honda, the racing department is very interesting, because this makes a big rotation of the technician, the engineers. Every 3-4 years, the engineers go out and other come in. You understand?
Yeah, so high rotation, yeah.
Yeah, the rotation, probably not all the same time, but it's constantly. And then there are only 2 or 3 needed with experience to keep this running. But the rest arrives with fresh ideas. And this, for example, makes that Honda does things that we don't understand, like they change completely a bike from one year to another. So they win a championship and suddenly the following year the bike doesn't work. And we say, hey, what's happened? It doesn't work because they said, okay, we have won with this. Now we want to invent something new.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, it's not an evolution, it's a revolution for them.
No, it's an engineering company.
Yeah,
it's not a racing company.
Yeah.
They just want to show how good they are.
And I think we said a couple of weeks ago, a lot of those engineers, they come there for 1, 2, 3 seasons and they rotate through to other areas in Honda. And so they're upskilling their own internal engineers. And so a lot of those guys that have learned in other departments, they'll come through and they'll learn a lot more in the racing department, and they'll move into the wider Honda team to go and bring the rest of the department up as well.
Look, I tell you something more that very few people know. To get president of Honda Motor Company, one of the places, I think there are 4, you have to go through is through HRC. You have to show your skill. The other thing to be a Honda president is you have to have run a production line, a production factory. The other one is that you have to have been in the auto, because not all the motorcycle, in the 4 wheels.
In the car industry.
Yeah. And there is another one which I don't remember, but one of them is to have gone through racing.
Yes.
Because there is where they show who is really tough and not. And not all are tough. Some don't work and they go back to
can't handle the pressure.
Yeah, to draw something, or they are not intelligent enough.
The fourth one's probably lawnmower engines, I reckon.
Yeah, stationary engines.
Yep.
So how does that translate?
Nothing like the tough world of lawnmowers.
Portable generators.
Yes.
So, and then let's go to Yamaha, because we have I think
that was my next question. Yeah.
Of what is Honda, right? Engineering company, proud company, arrogant company in between. Arrogant, yes. Why not? And then we go to Yamaha. Yamaha they like racing. You understand?
Yeah.
HRC likes engineering. They race because they obviously like racing, but they like racing to show how good they are. Yamaha simply like racing.
So they had to then become reasonably good at engineering to be able to. Yeah.
They like to compete. Yamaha likes to compete. So it's a different way of approaching racing, completely different. And this makes, for example, that the technician, the engineers who are in Yamaha racing department, that is not called like this. There now it is called engineering division. They are basically there the whole life.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I know
that's by choice, or is that something that the company manages?
It's the way they do things. The actual super boss of the engineering division, I knew him as a technician in the boxes of a 500 two-stroke team.
That would be good from a journalist perspective, but not good for the individual.
Yeah, but this would never happen in Honda. Never. Imagine.
Yeah.
Difficult to negotiate a pay contract, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the Yamaha,
what's 35th year going to be?
This is the difference, and therefore the policy in Yamaha, as you know, is always the same. They have a bike and they polish it a little bit every year, and they are very consistent in their bike performance because it's their way of doing things. Yeah.
So their philosophy seems more to be about stability and evolution, as opposed to like you say, the Honda idea of pure engineering and a revolution.
But still, this way is because how they look at racing,
Exactly. Well, going back to the other industries that they work in, you say musical instruments, that sort of thing, you don't completely redesign a guitar from one year to the next. You slowly evolve it, or a piano, same sort of thing. You make minor changes, if any.
Yeah.
Does Yamaha have that same level of control in the box that you explained that Honda did? I'm trying to just get a feel for is that a uniquely Honda thing, or is that a uniquely Japanese thing?
In Honda, until the arrival of Marquez, we could say that it was a mixture, a cultural mixture.
Yeah.
Controlled by Japanese style.
Okay.
because you could see there English people, Australians, Italians, people from all over the world working. Now it's basically Spain with some Japanese inside.
Yeah.
Wow.
No,
But they still
100%.
But do they still? This is essentially gets to the core of the question that I was asking. Maybe predominantly Spanish people walking that box floor, but do they still operate in a very Japanese way, or are they bringing the Latin way of doing things over with them?
They work in a Japanese style because the Honda people wouldn't allow this turn into a Ducati garage, of course.
Yeah.
Not
So the ones that are
Ducati
setting those
is
rules,
bad.
that's still the Japanese style.
Yeah. But the Spaniards have introduced what? The smile, the joking during the practice session. You can be professional, but you don't have to have a closed face. You know, you can do
can't
things.
throw a fire extinguisher.
Exactly. That won't happen in the Japanese.
Yeah. So what about Suzuki? Where does Suzuki sit in all this?
In the Yamaha box, how they work, people who rule the Yamaha box are Italians.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah. With Meregali, all these Valentino people, but they have in charge an Englishman who gives also a different way
dynamic
of doing
to it. Yeah,
like, imagine if their top man would be an Italian, so it would be more a casino, right?
Yeah.
So,
so there's no Japanese culture there whatsoever.
No, compared with Honda, no.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then we go to Suzuki, and Suzuki, I have to tell you, look, Suzuki is the third biggest motorcycle manufacturer in the world. But with all respect, Suzuki basically exists because Honda allows them to exist.
Wow, big statement.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a small brand compared with the other two, very small. And if you have a look, and I have discussed this with people inside Suzuki, in my opinion, and it's my opinion, Suzuki feels comfortable, very comfortable as the third brand. I think they feel comfortable in the situation that once in a while they win a championship, but doing the next step to go for it regularly, it has not happened until the last years. The new Suzuki with Davide Brivio, I think he has pushed the Suzuki representative in Japan to, okay, we have to go further than we are comfortable doing. Winning a race.
Serious about this.
Serious they are, but trying to look. If you decide we go for it, you have to invest a lot of more money. You have a lot of pressure, which if you are comfortable doing fourth, fifth, you don't have. Correct. So, and I know that Brivio is pushing the company, has been pushing to dare to do the next step.
That was going to be my next question. Is Suzuki ready to win? They haven't stood consistently on the top box since 2000s with Kenny Jr.
David, before 2000, if you look back, the previous championship was in 1993.
Yeah.
Yep.
A long time between drinks. Yeah. So Honda's obviously got a winning culture. To some extent, so does Yamaha. They said they have a winning culture that's baked into to the majority of that box. They remember what winning feels like. Is Suzuki ready to win? Do they have that culture that will enable that?
I think that's what Davide Brivio is trying to drill into the brain of the Japanese Suzuki engineers.
Yeah.
We have to go for it. We are ready. We are capable. They are showing.
Yeah, and I think in this equation as well, it's been a fantastic conversation. We also have to remember that all three, the Japanese marques especially, they have deep associations outside of MotoGP racing as well, superbike racing and super sport racing at national levels. And so I think Suzuki, from what I've seen as well, they have a lot of success in those other realms, BSB, AMA, superbikes, that kind of thing. And I think that really holds them aloft in those domestic markets. Because as you say, Manuel, these are black holes of money. At the end of the day, none of them make money, no matter what racing series it is. It's just a black hole. The only results that they can show are bikes going out of the showroom on a Monday morning.
And that's a great segue for our 6-part special of why Kawasaki isn't in MotoGP.
Oh, God, yeah, we could talk about that for weeks. Please.
Yeah, but Stu, what you say, and today I am very critical. It's
bring it on. It's
half
this is your
true.
Podcast, boss.
It's exactly right.
It's an elegant way to say that it's not true. It's half true. Sorry. No, because look, AMA, Suzuki dominates, and Yamaha has a chance. It's always because Honda doesn't want to enter the game.
Right.
When Honda enters the game, they are so powerful. They have so much money. They have so much resources that Honda can, they can, every time they want, the game finishes.
Mm. But do they have the resources to throw at those other series as well as MotoGP? Would they have to lose focus on MotoGP a bit?
Look, for you having an idea, I don't know the exact numbers. Suzuki may spend for a MotoGP season 30 million a year.
Yep.
Okay? Honda never less than 80 million. Never less.
Yeah.
Look, HRC racing department, I have here written, has over 1,000 engineers. The whole Ducati factory, it's about 1,500.
I think we've mentioned this in previous episodes of. Yeah. I think we jokingly said there are 6 engineers within HRC that just build left foot pegs.
Yes, exactly.
So therefore, it's when Honda wants, they finish the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like something flies for them.
I think that's a great exit point on that one.
If they are not in Superbike, it's because the sports market is very low, very short. Yeah. So they have no interest. They want to promote their brand by doing what? By winning the best series. I tell you, if the selling of the big hypersport would grow and would be a good market, Honda would be there and Honda would win everything.
They'd be back in overnight. All right, I think we should move on to the next segment where Manuel gets to sit back and relax during this one. So this is his favourite segment of all the work that he does for his media obligations. This is the one that he speaks of the most.
For telling me I was just wrong.
Andrew, you've had a quiet one for this episode. Do you want to kick this one off with your Manuel incident?
Sitting and listening and just taking it all in.
You're a passenger on this. I was going to remind you. I said you're actually helping steer the bus as well. So.
Oh, sorry. Have you seen that movie Speed?
That's it.
You can tell us to shut the hell up now and again.
I think it is. It's because I'm not drinking. I'm very quiet, aren't I? No, I was just, I get stuck sometimes when Manuel's talking. I forget that I'm meant to ask him questions because he draws you in with what he's talking about.
The master storyteller.
Yeah, he is though, isn't he? I'm sure everyone agrees with me. All right, Manuel incident. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. Thank you, Stu. I don't have anything crazy exciting like losing their virginity in a crypt, but I found someone that I was, because his name's been mentioned a few times, so I wanted to bring him up. You'll probably get it quite quickly. Let's see how we go. He's an outspoken current MotoGP rider, or is he retiring?
Ooh.
Already?
I wonder who this could be.
Do you already know? No, you don't.
Keep going.
Oh, he's never raced in Moto 3 or Moto 2.
Oh.
Do you know, Stu? Oh. In 2011, he was Rookie of the Year for MotoGP. In 2012, he fell in practice in Silverstone and suffered a broken and dislocated left ankle, passed his fitness test, and although he started at the back of the grid, he finished 6th. I read in the news a couple of days ago that...
I know who this is.
Who was that? Oh,
sorry.
Go on.
In the news a few days ago, I saw that he said that Jack Miller could beat Marc Marquez.
Mm-hmm.
After winning at Brno in 2016, he became the first British rider to win a race since Barry Sheene, and he's had 3 wins in 155 starts of MotoGP. Ladies and gentlemen, who is it?
Crutchlow.
Yeah.
No crutch.
And he kicked my husband off his bike in the MotoGP game, so
He's a bit feisty.
I was so glad to hear that Adam's having problems with Alex Rins in the MotoGP meet. He's the most aggressive. Anyone else out there who's having issues with Alex Rins in that game, let me know.
Yeah. And it was his own teammate too. Because
I honestly think that Alex has paid off the software development team just to bump up the aggression levels in the code. He's a nightmare on track.
Yep, Adam was swearing at him, don't you worry.
Cal Crutchlow, right, Manuel. One word to describe Cal.
He is a pure character.
Oh,
nice.
Nicely done.
Okay. Can we change the one word thing to 2?
Yeah, like it's.
Yeah.
I think we
never get one out of Manuel anyway.
I would write it together, so no problem.
So Manuel
you hyphenate it, it's just one word.
Yeah,
you've spent a lot of time with Cal, Manuel. You know, a lot of the articles that I've read that, you know, Cal's not backward in coming forward. Is there something that stands out for you as a canonical moment of Cal commentary?
I have a very good relationship with Cal because we have shared
beer,
information.
Women. Oh,
yeah, that's where I was going.
No. Sorry, I don't know. I was trying to help out.
We have very sensible information that was good for him.
Well done.
Ooh, bribery. Oh, no.
Oh.
All right,
Can you do you agree with what he said about Jack Miller?
Look, I spoke with Jack. I told you, I think, 48 hours ago, and I saw a super mature Jack. I was surprised. I know him since he was drinking beer at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Beer at 11.
That was last week. Yeah.
He's Aussie.
That was his €40,000 beer from memory.
Didn't
he get fined for that?
For that 40 or 50? It was in Honda, yes. A Honda.
He got fined for it.
Yeah. But I saw him very mature and very interesting, you know. He said, for example, because I asked him, look how interesting. Obviously, having signed a contract in the factory team for 2021, he can go out this season and
just let loose. Kick
the ball wherever he wants to. Yep. And he said, he agreed, yes, it's a good opportunity. I will go out with all. And
can he beat Mark?
He's on the list of the maybes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's cool.
Yeah, he's definitely got killer.
So we're still back. We're still putting our money on him then.
Yeah.
Right, nicely done.
He has the look, and I asked him about to choose between 2 Aussies, Mick Doohan and Casey Stoner.
Ooh.
And I know that somebody asked him before that question, and he answered Troy Bayliss.
Yeah. Nicely done.
Well played.
Take that. Very good.
All right, Stu, okay, I'm actually going to jump in on this one.
Do it.
Just because I'll put Manuel in a good mood, I just want to see how quickly I can wipe the good mood off this one. So this individual's still in the paddock, but he's in a more of a managerial position. He's Spanish. He was born in 1978. He's a retired racer now. During his career, he started in the superbike side of the house and then moved into GP. And he's nicknamed Spider-Man for his he's a large individual, and the way that he holds onto the bike has always been sometimes seen as a little awkward. He started in the Spanish Super Sports Series. He went to the German Superbike Series. He went to the World Supersport Championship where he got 5th.
I remember the German Superbike. He was awesome there.
He was. He said 2000 he rode for the official Ducati squad for World Superbike. He came over into another team with Troy Bayliss and was the first ever Spaniard to take a victory in World Superbike. He moved into MotoGP in 2004 as part of the Dante and Ducati, and was Neil Hodgson's teammate, who was runner-up that year.
Yeah, he's got it. He's got it.
He's got him. This individual is Manuel.
Your friend Ruben Xaus.
Yes!
Yes, Spider-Man.
Pronunciation?
Ruben Xaus.
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 Oh, okay.
Xaus.
Yep.
Ruben Xaus.
There's the second bumper sticker that the podcast is going to be making.
Ruben Xaus.
We so need stickers, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, this is the
look,
longest we've ever.
Yeah.
Guys, we're fucking again.
I don't know.
For those who are listening, we've had 3 seat changes while he's been thinking about this.
To listen to this podcast or not? I am just thinking what.
Of course he does. He listens to it every morning.
You're a
as he drives to
journalist.
work.
You don't need time to think.
Look, if Neil Hodgson listens to this podcast, I've got no doubt at all that Ruben's catching every episode of this.
Okay, Ruben.
I don't know if this is going to be good or bad.
My balls, guys.
That's how you bust.
Do you want to go on to
someone's
your
balls back.
Stu, and then we can look back onto Ruben's?
True.
You want to
Let me
think
find
about
the-
this one, do you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I love that I've stumped the boss.
I think that's twice he's been speechless.
Well done, indeed. Okay.
Come on,
All
Stu,
right.
break him. Break
Yeah.
him.
Have a think about that one. Meanwhile, okay, here we go. The Spanish ex-racer won the Spanish Superbike Championship 3 times in the late 80s. He achieved his best result of a podium place in World Superbike category with a 3rd place at his home race in Spain in 1992. Following retirement from racing, he began to represent up-and-coming riders, most famously managing a young world champion-to-be in the early 2000s, before very publicly, here we go, coming off the rails in 2008. His downfall was rumoured to be due to substance abuse problems and culminated in him harassing and making death threats to former clients.
Was it
After a
broccoli?
period of rehab, he was seemingly forgiven by his now current world champion ex-client, and together they formed a team to nurture up-and-coming young riders. He also continued to manage many other young riders at that time, and in 2020, he agreed to terms to become team coordinator for the Gas racing team in the Spanish Superbike Series. This gentleman's name is...
Dani Amatriain.
That's him. That's the guy.
What,
As I
Stu,
said,
I want to hear you pronounce it. Hang on,
Yeah,
Stu,
exactly.
can you
Go
please
for
say
it.
it?
yeah, Dani Amatriain.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
I got both. Easy. I got Ruben's and Dani's. Okay.
Okay. Do Dani first.
No, Ruben first.
Oh, you're busting my balls now, boss.
Overvalued.
Ooh,
Oh, ouch.
Right.
that's
who?
that's landed with a punch. That's smarted. Like
Yeah, by
that's
who?
left a bruise.
Jesus, what's the other one going to be?
Yeah.
Is that because he was seen as the saviour for Ducati around about that time after Foggy was gone, or what?
Stu, is it about one word or you want me to dig in on it?
You've got to dig down on it now.
Let's leave it in overvalued, okay? Let's leave it there.
Okay. He'll know, will he?
Look, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear the extra 40 minutes of that, we'll happily put that behind a paywall for you.
He's clearly got a very good manager to negotiate his contracts.
Wow.
And regarding Dani, the word is very clear. He's a victim.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh,
Right.
I haven't heard you use that one before.
Yeah, I sort of I dug into his story a little bit, and I was sort of getting that vibe as well. So perhaps this is one that we can expand upon for Andrew and some of the other people out there, because he's a background figure. They might not know who he is, and for those listening, the person I was talking that he represented, and then went back to, is Jorge Lorenzo.
Yes, look, I was, because we have to speak in past time, super friend of Dani, very much. We have traveled around the world together for many years. And it was a time when I was traveling with him and with Jorge Lorenzo. That's why I know Jorge pretty well. But then he fell into the net of the cocaine and it destroyed himself. And he was so brilliant manager. But he was, and me, I have to say that I was probably the last one to understand what was going on, But you, with him, I realized what cocaine can do in a person. I couldn't understand. It's incredible how he changed, how he destroyed himself, how his life he threw away his life. But in levels that you can't imagine. You can imagine, but you never will imagine. The truth will always be above of what you think.
Yeah. Yep. It's crazier than fiction.
Oh, that's awful.
Right. Yep.
And he went to rehab. He came out. It didn't work. He entered. He went out. He didn't work. And now I have seen him last year, I think, in the Spanish Championship, where he is running a young kid.
Yep. That's the gas racing team. There's, I think his name's Nori.
I don't know, but it seems that this guy is pretty good.
Neil Roig. Yeah.
See, Neil Roig.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you something. I had him in front of me, probably 1 meter, standing in front, and I didn't recognize who he was.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
He had to say me, Manuel, soy Dani. So,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. A victim. He's a victim.
Wow. Okay.
When you were speaking to him, did you get a sense that he was a changed man? Did you think he's entered another stage in his life?
Stabilized, yeah.
Look, what attracted me with Dani, what created our relationship was funny because I am a work alcoholic, right? I work 22 hours a day. And I used to work in the 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I saw that he was connected on Skype always. And I thought, wow, this guy is like me. He works like hell. And he did. But with the time, I realized that he was turbinated. It was not normal hardworking.
Gotcha.
But he did very well his job. He was incredible, the best manager in the paddock by far.
Yeah.
But it was
it's not just Jorge Lorenzo. He's been associated with a lot of other names. I see Emilio Alzamora, Tony Elliott, Hector Barbera, Paul Anderlecht Espargaro, Joan Olivier, Roberto Rolfo, Fonzi Nieto. So many riders that we take for granted now.
That's a healthy resume.
He's nurtured all of them. That's right.
And he was so good in attracting sponsor. He was super professional, but it was not real. It was fake.
Let's
It's a shame. That's awful.
Yeah.
Can we cheer it up before we go?
I was going to say, I wanted to leave that on a high note, but it was just on that last bit there.
Can I tell you one fun thing to make it lighter?
Go on.
We took someone's podcast cherry. Steve in the UK.
Do you have that term in Spain, Manuel?
No.
It's explain it, Andrew. This is where the apprentice comes.
You want me to explain it?
The first time that
like
somebody is intimate
woman.
in a very special way.
And try again.
Yeah.
When a man loves a woman, and the first time that they get extra close, kind of like what Stu's doing on the video right now that people can't see, thank God. This gentleman, he messaged because he loves MotoGP, and I was just messaging backwards and forwards, and I said to him, have you checked out the podcast? He's like, I've never listened to a podcast in my life. So he's had a listen and he's loving it.
Wow.
So that's Steve.
Great.
Steve? Hey, Steve.
Let him reach out. If he does the Instagrams, let him reach out on there and we'll give him some extra special love. So we'll throw a whole heap of attention his way.
This is the way we can double check if he's still listening.
That's it.
See if he listens all the way through.
That's right.
Look,
Brilliant.
I'm also gonna put a shameless plug out for the latest What the Andra that we've put out there with the absolutely hilarious Jake and Sarah Dixon. I've actually gone back and listened to that one on my own time.
That was my favourite interview so far. That was amazing.
You were even thinking about, and he even I know that the listeners obviously can't see because we could see video but recorded audio, but he even took his shirt off and was trying to, because we mentioned Jorge Martin's abs, and he's like, well, we want to see mine.
Yep.
Bloody brilliant.
Andrew had a little fainting spell.
I did get a bit flushed. It was a bit.
As I said I want to leave it on that positive. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank you, the co-hosts, Stu, Andrew, and most importantly, Manuel Pecino. Thank you so much for your time and input for this one and your insight. Look, I get a lot of people from you guys actually poking me for why do people have to leave us 5-star reviews, and it's actually paid off this week. I told Manuel the first of our impact on the world podcasting charts is starting to come in. We are officially the 151st highest listened sports podcast in Spain, ladies and gentlemen. Hey! So we're in the top 200.
How many are there?
There really are people listening.
Is there 152 of them?
No, Stu. There are 150, and we are out of the chart.
Yeah, that's We're available on all the platforms, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Twitters. Manuel, you're everywhere. How's the new platform going for you? Is it up and running yet? It hasn't caused you any more heartache?
We are pushing hard. We have preparing super special stuff for launching the pecinogp with a newsletter. I have prepared something very, 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 very special that is called a tribute to Nicky Hayden, where you can or the pecinogp visitor will see how do you say, a special photo gallery. You will be able to listen to a unique and unknown interview. You can see a video also I did with Nicky Hayden, so something very special. And then I also prepared something special with videos about the Jorge Lorenzo's father's training school. Very interesting, very cool.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, we've loved putting this together for you. I'm going to sign off here and now. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Adios from Spain.